Hello, it's Jay with another video on, there I am, blocking things off. Another CBT video, cognitive behavioral therapy video study. And with this, I'm not going to particularly get much into theory and all that because I'm not really interested in the theory. I'm just interested in finding sort of little practical techniques to help try and work on my own anxiety, which is not a super high level of anxiety, not super disabling, but is enough there that I could work on this. And at the moment, it's one of those things of I'm a carpenter and I've got a hammer, and every problem I'm going to just use the same hammer with at the moment, which for me is filming little videos of myself talking about stuff I've seen online, and am going to try and just kind of test out, feel out as I talk about it, of like, oh, would this work for me? Is there something in here, a little technique or something in here that might actually help me shake off a little bit of my anxiety and a little bit of my using, letting that stuff kind of control me, stuff like that. So this is on brand, is 3 instantly calming CBT techniques, techniques for anxiety. And it's from a YouTube channel called Uncommon Knowledge with Mrk Tyrll, who seems to run a little bit of a kind of an institute where he does like diplomas in like kind of hypnotherapy and stuff like that. I looked at a little bit of his bona fides. I don't know exactly particularly how impressive his bona fides are, but there's some things here which seem like fairly kind of straightforward stuff that I can try out, whether it's super high guy, or just somebody who's like, hey, this worked, why not you try it? I'll take it as that. I'm trying, I think with a lot of stuff like this, a lot of people can come on with a lot of authority, and you think, oh, I should do that because they have a lot of authority, where in actual fact, they may have all the authority in the world, and it might still be either full of shit, or it just might be stuff that isn't particularly effective for you, or effective in your particular circumstance and how you're going to use it. Like me, don't try this at home, kids. Well, this is stuff I'm gonna try at home, so it's got to be pretty low level basic shit because it's just me. So he starts off by quoting Marcus Aurelius, which is a little bit of a red flag, because then you get into, oh, it's bro dude kind of a stoical tradition of it's all in your head, and buck up, little camper, and tough it out there, be a real man. But actually he disagrees with the Marcus Aurelius quote that he gives, which is the idea, basically, that it's, if you can be happy in your mind and it doesn't matter about your environment, which sort of, as he says, no, environment has a big influence on helping people thrive, and meeting those innate needs. And if you're in the wrong environment, you are probably going to be unavoidably miserable. And so there's that is a good disagreement and a good distinction there, of not blaming the person versus the environment, which isn't to say that you can try and change whatever environment you're in or get out of it if you can, but it's not that kind of hard and fast, oh, it's just all in your head. you know you're just you're just being weak if you're not able to think your way out of things. His number 2 is actually a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy itself, and it says that it's the shaky theory that changing thinking will change feelings, which he makes the point that feelings a lot of the time come well before any thinking about stuff. And he gives the example of some like extreme stuff like post-traumatic stress disorder or phobias, where it's like you can do all the thinking you want, but there's some very core, deep stuff in there that you're physically reacting to. Now, he says, like in cases like that, cognitive behavioral therapy isn't probably going to be the thing that is going to is going to help you alleviate your stuff, at least not initially. That's way more thing. But for stuff like I'm nervous about going to a party, and so I don't go to a party, that may be something where something like cognitive behavioral therapy could be of use, which basically that's where I am at. But just keeping that in mind, that feelings they're the primal thing. Thoughts are sort of sometimes are the stuff that's laid on top of it. A lot of times, the last video I did was about kind of things you start doing, thought processes you use, catastrophizing, personalization, labeling, all that sort of stuff, which is, it's ways of thinking about stuff, but there still is underlying emotion under that, and that also needs to get dealt with as well at the same time. But you can use both. You can use both to work on it. So he's got 3 techniques he talks about in his video. The first technique is to focus on how feelings will change over time. So if you are feeling really shitty, it's like, well, how would you like to feel later? Like what would be the state that you would like to be in later? Or, if you're super anxious about giving a presentation, it's like, I would like focus on, like, okay, I'd like to feel alert and on point and ready to go. I would like to be that's the kind of feeling I would like to transition from just being anxious and maybe doing the thing of, like, okay, write down how you're feeling right now, and then write down how you'd like to be feeling later. And it's that idea of feelings are very fluid. That's sort of the nature of feelings. You can be feeling super down at one moment and super up at another moment. Feelings change, but oftentimes when you're in the grip of the feeling, it's all about the present. It's all about this moment, and you physically and you mentally you can't be out at that moment. If you get into a habit of going, oh, I'm feeling this way, okay, well, how would I like to be feeling later? It sort of gives you that little bounce to go, oh, this isn't permanent, this isn't just now. And it also gives you kind of a point that you'd like to go into. So it's like, hey, let's guide you over here, let's guide you over to this point. It is a thing of sort of interrupting that feeling cycle with, okay, you're feeling super anxious now, but where would you like to be? And that's sort of that kind of an idea. His technique number 2 is to chew it over and act normal. And when he's saying chew it over, he's actually talking about chewing, literally chewing in this case. It's the idea of, if you're super stressed, you're super anxious, it's to start behaving in a way, adopt a relaxed behavior, and that will actually tell your body, like, oh, you're doing relaxed behavior. There's obviously, that means there's not something for me to get revved up here about. I can calm down. The body itself can calm down, and that's talking softly and calmly. That's smiling. That's breathing deeply. It's like breathing deeply, and open body posture. Getting yourself into open body posture, or literally salivating, which is, if you do a chewing motion, your mouth will start salivating. And his point on this is that when you're in a danger situation, you're not thinking about eating. Eating is sort of naturally like I sit down and I'm relaxing and eating. So if you start making like just a chewing motion, or you get some gum and you chew, it will calm you. It will help you calm down, because your body's like, oh, I'm salivating, I must be getting ready to eat. So you calm down. And so it's a way of just sort of interrupting that it's addressing the feelings on a very kind of basic level, very basic level of, okay, here's all these relaxing behaviors you can do to just calm down, to calm down. Number 3 is catch the underlying assumption and chase that down to its kind of logical conclusion. So yeah, he gives the example of a party. It's like, I don't want to go to this party. It's like, why? Well, there's new people. Well, why are you worried about new people? I'm worried they won't like me. Well, why would what's the problem with that? Well, I'd be upset if they didn't like me. It's like, oh, okay, well, what would the problem with that? I'd feel unlikable. So, well, how can you, and then like, how can you deal with it? It's like, okay, not everybody, there are people in the world who like me. And, you know, I'm oftentimes, I can be wrong in assuming that people don't like me. Just because I go to a party and people don't talk to me, it's because they're also anxious. They also are like, oh, you know, I don't know this person, so I'm awkward talking to them. That doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means they don't know you yet. So kind of slowly kind of talk yourself down and kind of chase, so you catch the underlying assumption of, what's the underlying assumption of, I don't want to go to the party, or I don't want to post stuff online. Oh God, I can see myself. That's one that I should actually write out for myself of working that one out. Like, what are all my underlying assumptions under, I don't want to post, I don't want to post messages online. Do some chewing, some breathing, talking softly and calmly, and breathing deeply. Yeah, so that's the thing. And you know, very much a good presenter at the very end. He says, okay, so here's the takeaways from this. That, you know, strong feelings do shape your thoughts. Reframing your thoughts can actually kind of be useful and go back into addressing those feelings. Reminding yourself that feelings always change, that they go from one to another, they're not permanent, and you can imagine a better way to feel, and try and help guide yourself into that direction. That, what is that? Use a behavioral, yeah, using behavioral. I'm trying to read my note now. It was basically, it's act naturally, you know, chew it over to, you know, break that kind of behavioral feedback to relax. So chewing it over, smiling, all that stuff. And number 5 is catching the underlying assumption and following it to its logical conclusion, and just coming up with more helpful ways of, like, well, how could you address that? You know, it's like, that's something that's worrying you. All right, well, how can you address that? What are things that you can do, practical things you can do to address that? And I can see that, yeah, for me, one of my little things is working on interacting with people online. It's like, I need to kind of break that down, not in this video, break that down and come up with useful ideas of how to address that. Yes. All right. That was the study video. I think it's got some useful techniques. It's got some useful techniques which I will try. I will try kind of breaking that down into little bullet points. I will put that into little bullet points, and I will put that at the back of my journal for me to look at with the rest, with my lesson 1 on, which was the unhelpful thinking styles. I'll put the Clmng CBT techniques beside, underneath that. So I have this little page here of what I'm slowly building up for myself as ways to work on my social media anxiety. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.